Hello everyone. This session will be about the anatomy of rectum and anal canal as continuation of the anatomy of large intestine. The rectum is about 5 inch, 13 centimeter long, begin in front of the third sacral vertebrae. This is very important position at the third sacral vertebrae and its continuation of sigmoid colon. The mucous membrane of the rectum together with the circular muscle layer form three circular permanent folds called transverse fold of the rectum. Here, anatomy of the rectum, you can see rectosigmoid junction up there, and then you can see the transverse fold of the rectum, the superior one, middle and inferior. These are three folds, and also you can see extraperitoneal fat or space, very important, the levator ani muscle, so circular muscle layer, longitudinal muscle layer, and then the internal anal sphincter, conjoint longitudinal muscle layer, and after that this external anal sphincter, deep part, superficial and subcutaneous part. And also on the left side of the screen you can see the dentate line or pectineal line. This is very important, supposed to memorize this. And anal verge and the anal canal. This picture, it is very nice and explain everything about our lecture. You can see the transverse rectal fold, middle and inferior one. You can see the anal columns, anal valves, internal anal sphincter and external anal sphincter, and ischial anal fossa down there, very clear. Relation of the rectum in male. Posteriorly in the rectum is contact with the sacrum and coccyx, piriformis and coccygeus muscle, levator ani muscle, and sacral plexus and lymphatic trunk. Anteriorly in the male, the upper two-thirds of the rectum, which is covered by peritoneum, is very important. The only upper two-thirds is related to the sigmoid colon and cornice of the hilum and occupied rectophysical pouch. And the lower third of the rectum, which is devoid of peritoneum, is related to the posterior surface of the urinary bladder. The termination of the vas deferens and seminal vesicles are there, and prostate. Here it is very clear. This is the sigmoid colon, sacrum. You can see then the rectum, urethra, urinary bladder, pubic symphysis, and the prostate. This is the relation of the rectum in male. Hello everyone. This session will be about the anatomy of rectum and anal canal as continuation of the anatomy of large intestine. The rectum is about 5 inch, 13 centimeter long, begin in front of the third sacral vertebrae. This is very important position at the third sacral vertebrae. Arterial supply. The superior, middle and inferior rectal arteries supply the rectum. Superior rectal artery is the continuation of the inferior mesenteric artery, and it is chief artery supplying the mucous membrane, and it enters the pupils by descending in the root of the sigmoid mesocolon and divided into right and left branches, which is pierce the muscular skull and supply the mucous membrane. Anastomosis is another and with the middle and inferior rectal arteries. Relation of the rectum in male. Posteriorly in the rectum is contact with the sacrum and coccyx, piriformis and coccygeus muscle, levator ani muscle, and sacral plexus and lymphatic trunk. Anteriorly in the male, the upper two-thirds of the rectum, which is covered by peritoneum, is very important. The only upper two-thirds is related to the sigmoid colon and cornice of the hilum and occupied rectophysical pouch. And the lower arterial supply of congenital middle rectal artery, small branch with internal iliac artery associated and distribute mainly the muscular cord, and the inferior rectal artery, branch of the internal pudendal artery in the perineum, and it's anastomosis with the middle rectal artery at the rectal junction. Venous drain. The venous of the rectum is corresponding to the arteries. Superior rectal is going with the superior rectal artery, and middle and inferior going with the inferior and middle rectal veins, and drain to the internal pudendal veins respectively. The union between the rectal veins form the important what is called the portosystemic anastomosis. This is very important when there is increase in the portal pressure, may causing anal biles or hemorrhoids. Here, this is the corresponding veins of the rectal arteries. Lymphatic drain. The lymph vessels of the rectum drain firstly into the anorectal nodes and then into the inferior mesenteric nodes. Lymph vessels from the lower part of the rectum that follow the middle rectal artery in the internal iliac veins. That means there is two sides of lymphatic drain for the rectum, as if there is two sides of venous drain of the rectum, systemic and portal, and lymphatic also. One of them follow them. The upper part following to the inferior mesenteric, and the lower part going to the internal iliac node. That's all about the rectum. Let us talk about anal canal. Anal canal is about 1.5 inch in long and pass downward and backward from the rectal ampulla to the anus, except during defecation. Its lateral wall are kept in position by levator ani muscle and anal sphincters. Arterial supply of congenital middle rectal artery, small branch with internal iliac artery associated and distribute mainly to the muscular cord, and the inferior rectal artery, branch of the internal pudendal artery in the perineum, and its anastomosis with the middle rectal artery at the rectal junction. Posteriorly, the coccygeal body, which is the mass of fibrous tissue lying between the anal canal and coccyx, and laterally the fat filled the scoputal fossa. Anteriorly, in the male, we will find the perineal body, urogenital diaphragm, and membranous part of the urethra, and bulbous part of the penis. In the female, anteriorly we will find perineal body, urogenital diaphragm, and lower part of the vagina. That's the difference. That is all of the penis, and here is a part of the vagina. Here, this is the corresponding veins of the rectal arteries. Mucous membrane. The mucous membrane of the upper half of the anal canal is derived from the hindgut, an endodermal origin. It has the following important anatomical features. It lined by the columnar epithelium. It is thrown into the vertical folds. It's called anal columns. We will see it, which are joined together at their lower end of the small semicircular fold anal valves, remaining of the ectodermal membrane. Nerve supply is the same as the for rectal mucosa and is derived from the anatomical hypogastric plexus and sensitive only to stretch. This part of the mucosa of the upper half of the anal canal is derived from the endoderm. It is hindgut structure, and sensitive only to stretch. And the junction between the upper part and the lower parts, from the upper part it's forming anal columns, and from the lower part is forming anal valves. Arterial supply and venous drainage of the mucosa of the anal canal. The arterial supply is that of the hingant, namely superior rectal artery, a branch of the inferior mesenteric, as we said, and the venous drainage is mainly by superior rectal vein. a tributary of the inferior mesenteric vein, and then drain to the portal vein, and this is the portal system. The lymphatic drain is mainly upward along the superior rectal artery and pararectal nodes, and then eventually to the inferior mesenteric vein as that of the rectum. You can see here this is the inferior mesenteric artery supplying the rectum, and then part of it supply the anal canal, and there's also middle sacral artery, internal iliac. We have also superior rectal artery, that continuation of the inferior mesenteric. We have a branch of middle rectal artery as branch of the internal iliac artery, and also we have the inferior rectal artery as branch of the internal pudendal artery, and also you can see here the levator ani muscle, the same as the rectal blood supply. Mucous membrane of the lower half of the anal canal. Mucous membrane of the lower half of the anal canal is derived from the ectoderm and has the following important features different from that one of the upper parts. It's lined by stratified smooth epithelium. Epithelium here is different from that of the small intestine and large intestine and the rectum. Epithelium of the lower anal canal, it is ectodermal origin. This is gradually merge at the anus, which is preanal epidermis, and there is no anal columns, there only is anal valves. The nerve supply is from sympathetic somatic inferior rectal nerve, and that's sensitive to the pain, temperature, touch, and pressure, different from that one of the upper rectum, upper anal canal, all sensitive to stretch. We're supposed to memorize this one. The rectum is about 5 inch, 13 centimeter long, begin in front of the third sacral vertebrae. This is very important position. Arterial supply and venous drainage. This man of the lower anal canal. It supplies inferior rectal artery, branch of the internal pudendal, as we said, and venous drainage is corresponding to this artery, to the internal pudendal vein, which drain to the internal iliac vein. The lymphatic drain is downward to the middle group of the superficial inguinal lymph node. The lymphatic drain of the lower half of the anal canal is end up into the superficial inguinal lymph node. The pectinate line indicate the level of where the upper half and anal canal join to the lower half. As I said previously, the pectinate line is very important. From there is divided to the histologically and embryologically the anal canal into the upper half and lower half. So histologically, the upper part is the columnar epithelium and the lower part is the squamous epithelium, and embryologically the upper part is coming from the hindgut and the dermal origin, and the lower part is ectodermal origin. I hope that was very clear. This is a blood supply of the rectum, the venous drain, sorry. Yeah, this is the corresponding veins of the rectal arteries. The external sphincter, as I said, is divided into 3 parts. We have subcutaneous part, which encircles the lower end of the anal canal and has no bony attachment, and the superficial part, which is attached to the coccyx behind the perineal body in front, and the deep part, which is encircle the upper end of the anal canal and has also no bony attachment. Sorry. Here you can see the internal anal sphincter and the external anal sphincter, and its 3 parts, and here also the anal sinuses or anal valve. The valve is the projection from downward, and the column the projection from upward, and it's the projection of from the columns downward, this is forming the sinuses. And so you can see the hemorrhoidal veins, these veins where it appear obviously when there is increase in the portal pressure. Lymphatic drain, the lymph vessels of the rectum drain firstly into the rectal nodes and then into the inferior mesenteric nodes. Lymph vessels from the lower part of the rectum that follow the middle rectal artery in the internal iliac veins. That means there is two sides of lymphatic drain for the rectum, as if they mucous membrane of the lower half of the anal canal. Mucous membrane of the lower half of the anal canal is derived from the ectoderm and has the following important features different from that of the upper parts. It's lined by stratified smooth epithelium. Epithelium here is different from that of the small intestine and large intestine and the rectum. Epithelium of the lower anal canal, it is ectodermal origin. This is gradually merged at the anus, which is preanal epidermis, and there is no anal columns. There only is anal valves. The nerve supply is from sympathetic somatic inferior rectal nerve, and innervation of the anal canal. I saw the mucosa of upper half sensitive to stretch only and innervated by sensory fibers that ascend through the hypogastric plexus, and the lower half is sensitive to the pain, temperature, and touch and pressure, and innervated by the inferior rectal nerve. The involuntary internal sphincter is supplied by a sympathetic fiber from the inferior hypogastric plexus, and the voluntary external sphincter is supplied by the inferior rectal nerve, a branch of the pudendal nerve, and perineal branch of the fourth sacral nerve. This is very important point. You can see here sympathetic trunk, abdominal aorta, and the right common iliac arteries, and then up and above the superior hypogastric plexus, the mixed plexus, sympathetic and parasympathetic, and then downward to the left and right inferior hypogastric plexus, also sacral plexus. But on the nerve, you can see here inferior rectal nerve, that one we need it here for the lower half of the anal canal. That's all about anatomy of the rectum and anal canal. Thank you very much.